Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm obviously not the Minister of Finance as announced in the program. I might add yet. I'm just a product of the proliferation of the regulators and supervisors in Europe. But please still bear with me for the next 10 minutes. I will keep it short since we are running late already. So we have reached now the end of the 2018 Digital Finance Europe conference, and I am very glad that we could host this conference in our auditorium here of the National Bank of Belgium. And after today's many interesting keynotes and panels, it's a real privilege for me and an honor to provide some closing remarks. As with, I think, all expert conferences, and this one has been an outstanding example, we have been overwhelmed by interesting ideas, opportunities, and perspectives. So I think plenty to reflect upon, which makes this conference a real success. As indicated by various speakers and demonstrated during the case studies and the startup pitches, technological innovation and finance go, I think, hand in hand. And the current fast-paced evolution in combination with the omnipresence of data and network services is opening up really, truly unprecedented opportunities for innovation by an ever-broadening spectrum of market players. The new wave of technological innovation aims at reshaping the financial services to meet rising customer expectations for efficiency, convenience, and personalization. And we observe today that the emergence of flourishing innovation hubs that cluster prominent research institutions, leading financial institutions, and fintech startups, and the opportunities seem endless at this moment. But as already been told many times today, where there are opportunities, there are usually threats, challenges, and obviously also risks. And since I am a regulator and a supervisor, I would like to pick up on a few points related to the risk in the rapidly evolving European financial services ecosystem and share with you the perspectives of regulatory and supervisory authorities today. Firstly, relatively immature internet-facing technologies may pose important information and cybersecurity risks. Unforeseen vulnerabilities have already resulted in an inability to reliably deliver services which undermine the confidence and trust of the consumers in the market. Technology testing scenarios must closely reflect real-life situations and could be complemented with extensive penetration testing. Furthermore, setting up effective measures that foster detection, containment, and recovery from cyber incidents should be broadly adopted. Secondly, participants in the financial ecosystems are increasingly exposed to interdependencies, resulting in a significant third-party risk. The drivers here are twofold. We observe, on the one hand, ecosystem-wide strategies that are based on the integration of services provided by a broad diversity of interconnected entities, as well as a growing dependence on third-party infrastructure and software-as-a-service products. Obtaining clear insights in security policies and procedures, the downstream dependencies, and the contingency measures of partners are commonly observed challenges. Thirdly, a lack of adequate governance structures and processes may inhibit appropriate reaction under unforeseen circumstances. Governance arrangements and exception handling are increasingly captured in programming code, for instance, in smart contracts on the blockchain. And theoretically, this approach could be extremely effective in the impartial enforcement of the arrangement. However, several recent incidents have highlighted the limitations of automated governance approaches, for instance, the ability to deal with vulnerabilities in smart contracts. And then fourthly and lastly, different drivers for legal risks have been identified. Legal risks may originate from divergent legal requirements and technology principles. For example, a financial market infrastructure should be able to reverse a transaction in response to a mistake or a legal mandate, the so-called correctability requirement, which challenges a prime principle of many blockchain implementations. So additionally, fintech startups may be confronted with complexity related to determining the applicable regulation. To maximize the potential of these disruptive technologies and the participants in our flourishing financial innovation hubs, we as policy setters must strike the right balance between creating, on the one hand, a supportive environment for technological innovation, while on the other, maintaining a robust regulatory framework to promote certainty for innovators and safety for consumers. And allow me to elaborate on some of these very important principles. Firstly, the risk-based regulatory frameworks should focus on guaranteeing the provision of reliable and secure services in a changing environment. Moreover, I think given the diversity of entrants to the financial services industry, including big and fintech companies, and new business models touching regulated activities, we as regulators may need to consider complementing our focus on institutions with a more function or activity perspective. Secondly, regulators and supervisors should look for opportunities to support innovation while respecting the regulatory framework at the same time. Approaches that are currently being adopted by regulators and supervisors include regulatory sandboxes, proof of concepts, and streamlining of interaction processes. And the Belgian regulatory authorities, and that's the Financial Services and Market Authority and the National Bank of Belgium, have set up a joint single point of contact for developers of new financial services, which provides assistance in identifying the type of license that will be needed for the proposed solution. It also works with startups closely to clarify the regulatory framework and assess the legal aspects of the business model. And finally, the single point of contact also follows up on the processing of authorization requests. Regulators and supervisors are also committing themselves to the principle of technology neutrality, and subjecting technology innovators to special regulatory treatment could result in a distorted playing field. Regulators should not overprotect incumbents and should enable the development of designs that are better aligned with their business models and their customers' preferences while maintaining or even reducing the risk levels. Lastly, the cross-border nature of technological innovation calls for international coordination amongst regulatory authorities, which should result in a consistent, standardized, and transparent regulatory environment. And in conclusion, the regulatory and supervisory authorities play an important role in establishing the trust needed in the financial services ecosystem. Risk-based, standardized, and technology-neutral regulatory frameworks protect key stakeholders such as customers, investors, and the broader financial system. Trust will be key to realizing maximal benefits in a flourishing financial services ecosystem. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have been able to take a look at a fascinating future for the financial sector. We have talked about new technologies that offer new, previously unprecedented opportunities, in payments, in smart contracts, in retail banking, and in so many other domains. We also saw how digital transformation is already changing the face of the financial system and the financial sector, how new partnerships arise, how technology companies, startups, and others offer new solutions for often complex processes. But we also saw the other side of the coin. In an increasingly connected world, the cyber criminals also get more and more opportunities. In the future financial sector, cyber defense needs to be, even more so than today, a fixed topic in the discussions of management committees of financial institutions and those of regulators and supervisors. And with those words, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing else left than to thank B-HIVE and the European Banking Federation wholeheartedly for having taken the initiative to bring all partners in the European financial services ecosystem together here today in the National Bank of Belgium and having created this interesting forum for fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.